The sun was setting on the San Diego horizon, bathing the naval base facilities in an orange hue that contrasted with the gray of the military building. Katherine Lawson took a deep breath, her fingers gripping the steering wheel of her 2018 Honda Civic so tightly that her knuckles turned white. At 28, she never imagined she would be facing armed guards at the entrance of a military hospital. Her brother, Robert, had disappeared exactly 19 days ago. The Navy only said he was on a classified mission, but then that morning, she received an anonymous call. Your brother is at Balboa Naval Hospital, Sector 7, Restricted Ward. If you want to see him alive, go today. The guard at the entrance looked at Katherine with an impassive expression. I'm sorry, ma'am, but without military authorization, I cannot allow you to enter. Please, Katherine insisted, trying to keep her voice steady. My brother is Lieutenant Robert Law. He's hospitalized. I need to see him. The guard consulted his computer, typing something. We don't have any patients with that name, ma'am. He's in Ward 7, Katherine insisted. The second guard exchanged a quick glance with the first. Something about the mention of Wing 7 clearly bothered them. There is no Ward 7 in this hospital, ma'am. I ask that you leave before we have to take further action. Katherine remained in the car, weighing her options. She had spent the last 3 years working as a cybersecurity analyst for a company contracted by the Pentagon. She wasn't exactly a government employee, but she knew enough about security systems to understand that something was wrong with her brother's situation. When she returned to her small apartment in Coronado, Katherine couldn't get the guard's expression out of her head. There was recognition in his eyes. Ward 7 exists. On her laptop, Katherine began to work. Her job gave her access to certain government databases. Nothing extremely sensitive, but enough to do a preliminary search. She typed in her brother's name and then the terms Wing 7 and Balboa Naval Hospital. Nothing appeared immediately, but Katherine was persistent. It was then that she found a small discrepancy in the hospital blueprints she had access to. A shaded area, without a specific name, which did not appear in the official records, but which coincided perfectly with what would be a 7th ward. Her hands trembled as she delved deeper into the system. She knew she was overstepping the boundaries of her access, but her concern for her brother was stronger. Then a file appeared on the screen, a protected file named Operation Phoenix. For 3 hours, Katherine worked to circumvent the file's protection. When she finally managed to open it, what she saw chilled her to the bone. It was an experimental medical treatment program for soldiers severely wounded in special operations. The report mentioned experimental therapies and procedures not approved by the FDA, and there was her brother's name. On the list of subjects, Katherine downloaded as much information as she could, copying it to a flash drive. She realized she would need credentials to enter the hospital, not just as a visitor, but as someone authorized to access Ward 7. Using her skills, Katherine forged an identity, Dr. Eleanor Pierce, a consulting neurosurgeon. It was risky, but she had access to the right systems to enter those credentials into temporary databases. The next morning, Katherine barely recognized herself in the mirror. Her hair was pulled back in a stiff bun. She wore thin-rimmed glasses, understated makeup, and a formal outfit she rarely wore. Around her neck was a fake ID badge that she hoped would go through the entrance scan. The same guard from the previous night was on duty when she approached, this time on foot. Good morning, she said with a confidence she didn't feel. Dr. Eleanor Pierce. I have an appointment in Ward 7 this morning. The guard observed her and checked the system. I don't see your name on the list, doctor. It must be an administrative error, Katherine replied calmly. Colonel Martinez specifically requested my presence for Lieutenant Lawson's case. Perhaps he'd like to check with him before sending me back to Washington without seeing the patient. Mentioning the name of a superior officer had its effect. The guard hesitated, checked the system again, and, to Katherine's surprise, her forged badge passed through the scanner. The data entry into the system had worked. I apologize for the inconvenience, Dr. Pierce. I need an escort to accompany you. A young soldier was assigned to take her. As they walked through the white, impersonal hospital corridors, Katherine tried to memorize the way. They descended in an elevator, using a special key the soldier possessed. When the doors opened, she saw a completely different corridor, more modern, more sterile, with much more security. This way. Doctor, the soldier indicated, leading her through security doors. That's when Catherine saw the discreet sign, Sector 7, Restricted Access. Her heart raced. The file was correct, and her brother was probably there. "Who's in charge of the unit today?" he asked casually. "Dr. Mercer is on call, ma'am." Catherine nodded, as if she knew the name. In fact, she had seen the name in the Operation Phoenix file. Dr. Vanessa Mercer, director of the experimental program. The soldier left her in a small waiting room. "Dr. Mercer will be with you shortly." As soon as she was alone, Catherine began searching for clues. There was a workstation with a computer. Quickly, she inserted the flash drive and ran a program she had prepared. A quick search for Lawson in the local files. The search returned a folder, Subject 17, Lawson R. Before she could open the folder, she heard footsteps approaching. Catherine removed the flash drive and assumed a professional posture. The door opened, revealing a middle-aged woman with short gray hair and a penetrating gaze behind thin-rimmed glasses. "Dr. Pierce? We weren't expecting consultants today." The voice was polite, but Catherine sensed the suspicion behind the word. "It was a last-minute request," Catherine replied, trying to maintain her composure. "I'm here to assess Lieutenant Lawson's progress." "Interesting," Dr. Mercer narrowed her eyes. "Especially since I don't recall seeing your name on the list of authorized consultants." For Operation Phoenix, Catherine realized she had made a mistake. Dr. Mercer knew everyone involved in the project personally. "Could I see your credentials again?" Mercer asked, extending his hand. At that moment, Catherine knew she had no choice. Her deception was about to be exposed. "Actually, Dr. Mercer, my name is Catherine Lawson. Robert is my brother." The doctor's face hardened. "Security!" she called immediately. "Please," Catherine pleaded quickly. "I just want to know if he's okay. I haven't received any information for what are you doing to him?" Dr. Mercer studied her for a moment. "Your intrusion is a serious breach of national security. How did you manage to get in here?" "I received an anonymous call saying my brother was here. Please, I just want to see him." Something subtly changed in the doctor's expression. "An anonymous call?" She seemed genuinely surprised. "Who knew you were looking for him?" Before Catherine could answer, 2 armed security guards entered the room. "Arrest this woman," Mercer ordered. "Violation of security perimeter." The security guards approached Catherine, who felt panic rising. "I have proof!" she exclaimed. "I know about Operation Phoenix. I know you're using wounded soldiers for unapproved experiments. If anything happens to me, the information I have will be released." This made Mercer hesitate. "Take her to interrogation room 3, he ordered the guards, "and call Colonel Martin." The next 90 minutes were a blur for Catherine. Isolated in a small, windowless room, she tried to remain calm while listening to raised voices arguing outside. Finally, the door opened, and a man in uniform entered. A colonel, judging by the insignia. "Miss Lawson," he said, sitting down opposite her, "you've caused us a great deal of trouble today." "Where is my brother?" Catherine asked directly. The colonel assessed her for several long seconds. "Your brother is alive, but his condition is ... What does that mean?" Catherine insisted. "It means he suffered injuries that would normally be fatal during a covert operation. Operation Phoenix is an experimental program that offers the only chance of survival for cases like his." Catherine felt a tightness in her chest. "What kind of experiments are you conducting?" "Advanced regenerative therapy," the colonel replied cautiously. "Techniques that haven't yet been approved for general use, but which represent the only hope for soldiers like your brother." "I want to see him." Catherine, "Impossible. He's in a critical phase of So, how do I know he's really alive? How do I know they're not just stringing me along?" The colonel sighed. "Who made the anonymous call to you?" "I don't know. It was a blocked number." "I understand." The colonel seemed to be thinking. "Ms. Lawson, do you understand the gravity of the situation you're in? Hacking into government systems, falsifying credentials, unauthorized entry into a restricted military installation, ... Catherine swallowed hard. "I just wanted to find my brother, and he risked a lot to do it." The colonel leaned forward. "That shows an impressive level of skill and determination, although completely illegal." A heavy silence settled in the room. "I have a proposal for you, Miss Lawson," the colonel finally said. "One that could benefit us all." "What kind of proposal?" Catherine asked suspiciously. Operation Phoenix needs people with your skills. Cybersecurity experts who can protect our data. If you sign a confidentiality agreement and join the team as a consultant, I can allow you to see your brother and monitor his treatment. Catherine hadn't expected this. Why would she trust me after what I did today? Because you demonstrated family loyalty above all else, and we need that loyalty directed towards the program. Catherine considered the offer. It was a way out, and it meant she could monitor what was happening with Robert. What? If I refuse, then he will face federal criminal charges and will probably never see his brother again. It wasn't really a choice. When can I see him? As soon as you sign the documents, the colonel replied, pulling a folder from his coat. Catherine signed the papers without reading them completely. An hour later, she was wearing a lab coat with a new name tag, this time a real one, while Dr. Mercer guided her through the corridors of Sector 7. Your brother is not conscious, Mercer warned, and his appearance could be disturbing. Catherine nodded, trying to prepare herself. When they entered the room, Catherine barely recognized Robert. His body was connected to several machines, and large sections of his skin looked artificial, with an almost metallic sheen. Part of his skull had been replaced with a transparent material, through which she could see a pulsating liquid. What did they do to him? Catherine whispered, horrified. We saved his life, Mercer replied. The wounds he suffered destroyed 60% of his body. What you are seeing are biocompatible prostheses and tissues regenerated using nanotechnology. We are still at the beginning of the process. Catherine approached slowly, touching her brother's hand. The only part that still seemed human. Will he still be human when he wakes up? Mercer hesitated. That's an interesting philosophical question, don't you think? He'll have consciousness, memories, emotion, but a large part of his body will be advanced technology. What defines our humanity after all? Catherine felt tears welling up in her eyes. When will he wake up? If all goes well, in a few weeks. But the adaptation process will be long. In the days that followed, Catherine officially began working for Operation Phoenix. Her job was to strengthen the program's digital security, ironically, closing the very loopholes she had exploited to get in. During that time, she discovered much more about the operation. The program wasn't just about saving wounded soldiers, it was about creating a new generation of technologically augmented combatants, soldiers who could survive injuries that would kill any normal human with physical capabilities beyond natural limits. While she was at work, Catherine continued to visit Robert daily, talking to him even though he didn't respond, telling him about her day, reminiscing about childhood memory. Doctors said that comatose patients could often hear, and she clung to that hope. It was during one of these visits 3 weeks later that she noticed something different. Robert's fingers moved slightly when she held his hand. Doctor? She called immediately. He moved. A medical team rushed into the room, checking vital signs and running tests. Dr. Mercer seemed particularly excited. His brain patterns are stabilizing, she announced. He may be regaining consciousness faster than we expected. That night, Catherine stayed by her brother's bedside, refusing to leave. In the early morning, when the hospital was silent, she felt it again. A squeeze on her hand. Robert? She whispered, leaning close. Can you hear me? His eyes opened slowly. Eyes that now had an artificial glint, pupils that adjusted mechanically like the diaphragm of a camera. Kakath? The voice was hoarse, almost unrecognizable. Yes, it's me, she replied, tears streaming down her face. I'm here with you. Where? What happened to me? Robert tried to move, looking at his own body with growing horror. You were wounded in combat, Catherine explained softly. But they saved you, Robert. You're alive. This is no life, he whispered, raising his artificial hand before his face. What have I become? Before Catherine could answer, the door opened and Dr. Mercer entered, followed by Colonel Martinez. Lieutenant Lawson, welcome back, said the colonel with a satisfied smile. You are a miracle of modern science. Robert looked at the two of them suspiciously. What have you done to me? We saved you, Mercer replied, moving closer to check your vital signs. And you'll soon realize we've improved you. In the weeks that followed, Catherine watched her brother recover with mixed feelings. On the one hand, he was alive, and his consciousness was intact. On the other, He was clearly struggling to accept his new body. Robert's physical capabilities were impressive. He could process information faster, his strength had increased exponentially, and his senses were sharpened beyond human capabilities. But Catherine noticed his distant gaze, his inner struggle. "They're creating super soldiers," Robert told her in a rare moment of privacy. "It's not just about saving lives. It's about creating a military advantage." "Do you regret it?" Catherine asked. "Being saved this way?" Robert remained silent for a long moment. "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm not myself anymore. Other times, I feel like I'm more than I've ever been." Catherine continued her work in the program's digital security, now with access to increasingly sensitive information. That's how she discovered something disturbing: documents suggesting that some of the program's volunteers hadn't actually consented to the procedure. Seriously wounded soldiers who had been officially declared dead so they could be secretly transferred to the program. When she confronted Colonel Martinez about it, his response was cold. "War demands sacrifices, Miss Lawson. Sometimes. Individual choice must be sacrificed for the greater good." "That's not ethical," Catherine argued. "Ethics is a luxury in times of conflict," the colonel retorted. "Our adversaries are developing similar technology. We cannot fall behind." As Robert recovered physically, his mental unease grew. "I'm not just a patient to them, Catherine," he confessed one night. "I'm a weapon. They're preparing me to go back into the field. Not for normal missions, but for operations that no human survive." Catherine began to question her own participation in the program. Was she helping to save lives, or contributing to something potentially monstrous? It was then that Catherine discovered something even more disturbing in the program's files. Operation Phoenix had a containment clause. If any subject became unstable or attempted to defect, lethal protocols embedded in the implants could be activated remotely. His brother wasn't just a modified soldier, he was a prisoner in his own body. Catherine made her decision that very night. Using her privileged access, she began working secretly, modifying the security systems, creating a loophole that would allow her and Robert to escape. At the same time, she gathered evidence about the program's unethical practices. "Let's run away," she told Robert when they were alone. "I have a plan." Robert looked at her with his artificial eyes, which could now see in the dark. "Where would we go?" "Look at me, Catherine. I can't exactly blend into the crowd." "I have contacts," Catherine insisted. "People who can help us expose what's happening here and protect you." "They'll never let us go," Robert replied grimly. "You know that." "Then we will fight," Catherine said, determined. Together. On the night planned for the escape, Catherine temporarily disabled the security systems, creating an escape route through the hospital's basement. Robert, with his enhanced strength, easily neutralized the few guards they encountered. Along the way, they were almost reaching an exit point when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed all along the corridor. "They found out," said Catherine, quickening her pace. They turned down a corridor and came face to face with Colonel Martinez and a squad of armed security guards. "This is disappointing, Miss Lawson," said the colonel, pointing a gun at her. "After all the trust we placed in you." "Trust?" Catherine laughed bitterly. "You blackmailed me, and you're using my brother as a guinea pig." "Your brother is the future of modern warfare," Martinez replied. "Just like all our subjects, a necessary evolution at the expense of his humanity. A small price to pay for military superiority." Robert stepped forward, placing himself between Catherine and the weapons. "I'm not going back," he declared, "and I won't let them hurt my sister." The colonel smiled coldly and pulled a small device from his pocket. "I'm sorry, Lieutenant, but you have no choice." He pressed a button and instantly Robert fell to his knees, his body convulsing as restraint systems embedded in his implant were activated. "Stop!" Catherine shouted, running to her brother's side. "They're killing him!" "Just temporarily disabling it," Martinez corrected. "It's too valuable to destroy." As security guards approached to restrain her, Catherine reached for the flash drive she had been hiding, the one containing all the evidence she had collected. With a swift movement, she threw it through a nearby ventilation opening. The colonel realized too late what she had done. "What was that?" "Safe," Catherine replied as she was handcuffed. "All the evidence regarding Operation Phoenix will be automatically sent to journalists and members of Congress if I don't enter a cancellation code within 12 hours. Martinez's face. "You're bluffing." Do you want to take the risk? Catherine stared at him defiantly. I wonder how the public would react to knowing that they're turning American soldiers into cyborgs without proper consent. A tense silence settled in the hallway. What do you want? The colonel finally asked. Freedom for me and my brother. Removal of any remote control devices from his implants, and a promise that the program will be redesigned with proper ethical oversight. Martinez considered the option. But what about the evidence? They will be safe with me, as a guarantee that they will fulfill their part of the. After hours of tense negotiations involving military lawyers and high-ranking officers, an agreement was. Robert would be released from military service with a cover story for conventional injuries and a generous retirement pension. The remote control devices would be deactivated, although the physical enhancements would remain. Operation Phoenix would continue, but under new management and with stricter ethical protocols, including genuine consent from participants. Catherine would be hired as a safety and ethics consultant, overseeing the program. 6 months later, Catherine and Robert sat on the porch of their new shared home in a remote area of Oregon. Robert was still struggling to adjust to his new existence, but he was finding a balance. There were difficult days when he questioned his humanity, but also moments of acceptance. Do you think we did the right thing? Robert asked, watching the sunset with his enhanced eyes that captured every nuance of color that normal human eyes could. Never see. Catherine pondered the question. Operation Phoenix continued, now under tighter supervision. New soldiers were being saved and transformed, but with informed consent and enhanced protection. I think we did the best we could with the options we had, he finally replied. And most importantly, we're together. Robert nodded, offering a rare smile. And free. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, Catherine knew the fight wasn't truly over. The world was changing, the line between human and machine becoming increasingly blurred. There would be more battles ahead, ethical, political, philosophical. But for now, at this moment, it was enough that they had survived, that they had found a way through the fire, like the mythological bird that gave its name to the operation that had changed their lives forever.